Asterisk asterisk every year my family forgot my birthday while spoiling my brother, but this time grandma asked why her $42,000 college fund for me was gone. Asterisk asterisk. My mom actually laughed when grandma said it out loud at the table. Laughed. Like it was the funniest joke she'd heard all year. Then she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Sweetie, your grandma's getting senile. She probably mixed you up with your brother again." I was 29, my brother was 31. Grandma was 84, and sharper than all of us combined. She wasn't mixed up. She just finally asked the question I'd been too scared to ask for 12 years. Drop your city if your family ever forgot something this big. What would you do if you found out your parents stole your future to fund your brother's failures? I still remember the exact smell of the vanilla sheet cake the year I turned 10. Mom had baked it herself, 3 layers. Perfect roses, piped in pink buttercream because it was for Jake. My birthday had been 4 days earlier. I got a text that said, "Happy B-Day, kiddo." And a $20 bill slid under my bedroom door like I was the paper boy. That was normal. Jake was the golden child, the boy, the one who needed things. I was the quiet one who drew in the margins of her notebooks and never complained. I learned early that if I stayed small, the screaming stopped faster. By 16, I was paying for my own art supplies by selling pet portraits on DVD. By 18, I had a full-ride scholarship to RISD for industrial design, one of the best programs in the country. The day I got the acceptance letter, Grandma pulled me into her kitchen that smelled like lemon polish and decades of Sunday roasts. She pressed a bank envelope into my hand. "This is $42,000, Mia," she whispered. "You're abuelo and I saved it for your college. Your parents don't need to know. They'll only give it to Jacob for another business idea." I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. I promised her I'd make her proud. 2 weeks later, Mom sat me down and told me the scholarship didn't cover real-life expenses and that Jake's startup needed seed money or he'd never get on his feet. The $42,000 was gone, transferred. She made me watch her do it on her phone like it was nothing. Family helps family. "Mia, you'll figure it out." "You always do." I figured it out. I worked doubles at the campus coffee shop, graduated with honors, and still had $38,000 in student loans because there was no magic college fund anymore. Jake's startup lasted 11 months and one vape shop franchise that went bankrupt. Fast forward 11 years. I'm 29, running a tiny but profitable furniture design studio out of a leased warehouse in Atlanta. My pieces are in Dwell magazine. I finally paid off the last loan 6 months ago. Jake is on his 4th comeback, living in my parents' basement, driving a leased Audi he can't afford, and telling everyone he's in between ventures. This year, my parents decided to throw a huge 85th birthday luau for Grandma at their house, catered roast pig, a bouncy castle for some reason, custom leis flown in from Hawaii. They made a big show of inviting me last minute, like they were doing me a favor. I almost didn't go. But Grandma texted me herself, "I want to see my girl." So I went. In the dress I designed and sewed myself deep emerald silk that took me 40 hours. I walked in carrying the gift I'd spent 4 months making, a hand-carved mahogany jewelry, boxed inlaid with the exact floral pattern of the curtains in her old house. Inside were 85 rolled-up notes, one for every year from people whose lives she'd touched. I'd tracked them down on Facebook. Mom barely looked at it. Dad grunted. Jake smirked and said, "Still playing with wood. Huh, Mia?" Dinner was prime rib and those little fondant pineapples that cost more than my first car. Grandma was seated at the head of the table in a flower crown, glowing. When they brought out her cake, 5 tears, cascading orchids. She stood up with her cane and tapped her glass. "I want to say something." Her voice was steady. "I'm so proud of my grandchildren. Jacob, you have such a creative spirit." Jake preened and Mio, my brilliant Miyoshi, built everything herself. I wish I could have done more for her. Then she turned to me, eyes wet. "I still don't understand what happened to your college fund, baby. The one I gave your parents for you. $42,000? They told me you didn't need it because of the scholarship, but I found the old bank statement last month. It went to Jacob's company 2 weeks after I signed it over." You could hear the ice melting in glasses. Mom's face went the color of raw chicken. Dad started coughing into his napkin. Jake's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Mom forced a laugh. "Mama, you're confused. That money was for the house renovations." Grandma cut her off, voice like steel. "No, Christine, I have the transfer receipt. It says Jacob's Juice Bar LLC. I may be old, but I'm not stupid." I felt the room tilt. I'd spent years convincing myself it was water under the bridge. I was fine. I'd made it anyway. But hearing it out loud, hearing Grandma say the number, broke something open in my chest. I stood up slowly, Everyone stared. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just opened my phone, pulled up the folder I'd kept since I was 20 to screenshots. Bank records I'd gotten through a lawyer friend. The LLC filings that showed my parents as co-signers on every loan. Jake defaulted on I airplayed it to the TV they'd set up for the slideshow of Grandma's life. The first slide, the $42,000 transfer confirmation. Second slide, Jake's failed business, license. Third, Mom's Venmo, history hundreds of payments to Jake labeled groceries that were actually his car insurance. Fourth, the foreclosure notice on their house they'd been hiding from everyone. I let it play on loop while I spoke, calm and quiet. I forgave you a long time ago because I thought that's what good daughters do. But forgiveness doesn't mean I forget. It doesn't mean I keep showing up to be disrespected. And it sure as hell doesn't mean I let you lie to the one person who ever saw me. Mom started sobbing, ugly, loud, mascara everywhere. Dad was purple, whispering, turn it off. Jake looked like he was going to throw up. Grandma reached for my hand. I took it. I'm done. I said, all of you, effective immediately. Don't call, don't text, don't show up at my studio. I owe you nothing. I kissed Grandma on the cheek, whispered, I love you in Spanish like we always do, and walked out in my emerald dress with my head high. 3 weeks later, Grandma changed her will. Everything, the house, the savings, the vintage Cadillac, comes to me. She moved into the guest cottage behind my new place last month. She sits on the porch every morning drinking Café de Olla and telling me I'm the best thing she ever did. My studio tripled in size. I hired my first 2 employees. One of my chairs is in the permanent collection at the High Museum. Now, my parents' house is in foreclosure. Jake got a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car and cries in the group chat about how unfair life is. Mom left me a 9-minute voicemail begging me to be reasonable. I deleted it without listening to the end. Some wounds don't need reopening. They just need you to stop picking at them and walk away so they can finally heal. What would you do if your family stole your entire future and then expected you to keep smiling at Thanksgiving? Thank you for listening.